Okay, sorry guys. I don't think I should do this, but let me do it nonetheless. Remember this debate is battle of logic. I have to hear you, right? Also, or rather, we have to hear.
I am the Prime Minister of this opening government, and this House supports the motion that social expectations should be publicized, take sides, and be vocal on social networks in times of social, economic, and political turbulence. So how do I begin to define this? Social expectations. What the society expects? Publicize, to make public. Social network, social media pages, network of social interactions. So it can be simply defined as what the society expects to be made public on social media platforms. So this topic really talks about how we all have different views that we all need to express ourselves. Information on social networks could be biased. People might see the need to just bring up something just to have more views or just to get the attention of so many people, just because they want to, or they just see a story that can bring them a lot of views and they want to act on it, which isn't always right. Polarization. People may have different views and might not be able to agree on it. Let's say one person thinks that this is better on social media, but another person thinks that you are wrong and this is better. It's not. So instead of going out to cause confusion and complication, it's better to just agree with yourself and not go out and publicize what you have to say. Instability, unrest and disruption of peace. This complication of views can make it hard for people to coexist. Let's say again that we all have views, I know, and you want to share it, of course you want to share it. So it might disrupt the peace because we all aren't alike, and it's not by force that someone has to be in the know with what you want. You want something, the other person doesn't really like it, so you have to deal with it and keep it to yourself because we're all different in our own way. People may say hurtful things. Once you don't get what you want, you may think it's necessary for you to say something mean about the other person, but it doesn't mean that you have to stand up and say something that might not be your rights. Like, you can't just say that someone is stupid, like someone doesn't know what they're saying, because we all know what we're saying. We all have a way of expressing ourselves, and that doesn't matter how you just want to say it or how the other person is. You feel better than the other person because you aren't better than the other person. The person might have views that they want to say, and the government has a way of saying their own things. Like now, if you are in the government, the government makes a statement, then people go online to be talking about it and say that this statement made by the government is not right. The government has made the statement. Deal with it. It's not your business. Because the government has made that statement and you are the government. If you want a change, then go and fight for it. Go into the house and conduct an election. Be part of the election so that you can make it better. Instead of acting and going online to badmouth someone else, which isn't very good. So when you come out online, first think, how am I affecting the other person? Or how am I affecting the statement that the other person has made? Or this statement that I'm making online, will it hurt someone else? Or will it just be benefiting me? Think that, am I doing a good thing by saying what's my views online? Would other people really relate with it? Or will it just be benefiting me, as I said? Like, think that this thing, is it really true? Or am I just using it to gain attention? Because most of us, we just do it to gain attention, which isn't good. Like, imagine someone just going out online to say that someone is bad just because you want some attention. If you want attention, go out and get it or something. Do something meaningful instead of going online to say something so hurtful. As I begin to conclude, we all stop relying on social media to express ourselves. We should actually go out and express ourselves because it can cause many quarrels, many problems in the society, which doesn't help. So, thank you. As I begin to conclude, I would like to say thank you to
Thank you so much for that fine speech, Prime Minister. I'll now be taking the leader of
You can ask you like after the protester time, after the protester time, during the speech, last or where's my list?
Cops.
Sorry, can we start? So, as the opposition, we're here to oppose a motion that states that social expectations to publicly take sides and be vocal on social networks in times of social, economic, or political turbulence. From what the opposing side has said, they said that what's it called? Through polarization, that we should just take one side, that we do not need to publicize our own ideas on it. But that isn't right. In a topic or matter where there are two sides to it, it should be allowed that both people are allowed to make their points equally and fairly, without one just being taken as the hedge topic or sense of it. A dialogue or a dialogue can only occur when.
How do you plan on limiting the influence of inflicting harm? How do you plan on reducing the influence of inflicting harm?
Reducing the influence of inflicted harm on social networks. You can bring about regulations on social platforms that state or that support marginalized voices, and that supports the safety of marginalized voices. Inflicted harm is not in every person's idea to inflict harm on another person, but by
Take your time. Alright, hold on. You said you did what? You need?
medical assistance.
Okay.
Thank that speaker for that fine speech, and now we're introducing the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the debate for us.
So as we
Hi.
Deputy.
Prime Minister.
sorry.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so I start in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, supporting what my Prime Minister has said on the motion that this House opposes the social expectations to publicly take sides and be vocal on social networks in times of social economics of public turbulence while taking sides. My opponents once said that taking sides brings about self-expression, it brings about equality, and even brings about solving of problems. I would just rebut this point by saying that on social media, by ensuring that everyone takes a side, it not only doesn't bring about equality, but it also brings about more harm because people add more conflict and they even bring up new cases, which brings about more problems. Another point is that biased. Everybody talks about how the government is always corrupt, how the government is always biased and everything. Meanwhile, whenever new cases comes up, because of the need to feel equally expressed of words and because of the need to express our opinions, people are actually the one being biased because of their reasoning and because of their differences in expression and points. Furthermore, like my Prime Minister said, it brings about instability. Talking more on that, when people are given too much freedom to express their sides and take sides on public turbulences, it brings about instability because people may not only people may be supporting or opposing, but there are also some people that can be in the middle. Some people may come up and say that they are for all of the sides, while people say they are for none. It brings about instability and it also brings about confusion and making the case worse. My opponents may say that taking sides allows the government to communicate with the citizens more and allows the government to know what the citizen is thinking about. The government can communicate with the citizens in other ways. It doesn't have to do with social media. The solution not only has to do with social media because social media can be easily manipulated, can be easily hacked into, can be easily framed. It can cause so much harm. Social media is not independent if the government wants to get the opinions and communication of their citizens.
What to information?
Yes.
What about propaganda?
What about?
Propaganda.
Oh, I
When the government edits information and then tells false information to you, how are we going to fix that?
Sorry, I didn't get that actually.
What about propaganda when the government filters information and it publicly releases it to the press? Then people get wrong information.
Okay, just move on. Okay. Talking on that, another point is that when a case comes up or a public turbulence arises on social media and the people are given so much freedom to take sides, it makes way for crime. Because as the case is coming up and as people are trying to take sides and solve the issues, people behind the scenes like fraudsters or even people who are paid to cause harm for money, yes, it exists. There are people who are being paid to come on social media, cause disruption, cause confusion, just so that the government or a particular person can be blamed. For example, a politician like maybe Peter Obi or Buhari by chance comes on social media and is being accused of embezzlement or is being accused of a crime that he did not commit. People are paid to go on social media and add fuel to the fire and make Buhari or Peter Obi or that politician blamed when he is innocent, by doing that. People pay these people because either they want to get rid of their competition or they just have this bad aura with the politician that they want to get rid of, and they do it where on social media. You can't go on Arise News or you can't go directly to the government or a politician and try to make up words and everything. They will first identify who you are, where you get your sources from. They will first identify who you are, where you get your sources from, and it will be faster to know whether that information is right or wrong. But because it is social media, it will be hard for them to identify who is being paid to take down a competition or blame a particular politician or anybody. And because it is also social media, plenty people may come with their different opinions, causing more fire to the unclaimed accusation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that kind speech. Deputy Prime Minister, I will now be taking the Deputy Leader of Opposition from the
Thank you. So as my
The time is counting down.
As my leader of opposition has just stated about polarization and not allowing the people to voice their own opinions. Now, as I was listening to the Prime Minister, I heard she said something about fraud, about how people are paid to come online and talk about and diminish other people's or demean other people's to demean other people. Well, I want to say this: if the people aren't given a chance to voice their own opinions, how would the voiceless, the faceless be able to the faceless be able to find information? Yes.
Do you think everyone is good enough to say their own opinion?
Yes. Everyone should be like able to explain and to say their own opinions, their own judgments, their own matters.
If you claim social media is the only way to go when expressing people's opinions about something, what about those who do not have gadgets or do not have a way to access social media? Does that mean that, if social media is the only way to go to the voice, does that mean people who do not have social media, what do they do? Don't they matter?
They do matter. It's just that social media is a way to like it's still going to be a way to voice other people's opinions. For those who do not have phones, who do not have a way or a means to speak up about what is happening. In the 21st century, there's no way. There's no way. I'm saying that people who are older, they don't have the same, because they don't have. People who are older that are not in the 21st century, they don't see the need to go on that. I think that they also don't have the same. No. No, I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm not thinking that's pure and allowing people to voice their own thoughts and opinions. I'm not saying that the older people, like the older,
Thank you so much for that kind speech, Deputy Leader of Opposition. I will now be taking Member of Government to continue with the floor.
You guys got this. You got it. You don't got it.
I'm ready whenever you are.
I don't want it to.
I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Opposition, proposition, my dear education, good morning. As a delegation today, we are faced with the motion that states that this House opposes social expectations to publicly take sides and be vocal on social networks in times of economical, social, or political turbulence. As analyzed, this is an evaluative motion. It's a motion whereby we are checking whether we are looking at the good and the bad impact of taking public sides, right? As an extension of the model that has been presented by the government side, we are saying that we know that everyone has the freedom of expression. However, we're looking that in times of social, economical, and political turbulence, and this is when there's a certain change in the status quo, we want to limit their freedom of expression. And we believe that the code of conduct is that people should not be taking sides on social media, because if everyone is sane enough to make a certain decision, then who are you to go on social media and tell them what is good or what is bad? We all have an intellectual prowess which can process whether what is happening on the ground is good or bad. As a delegation, and that is the government and the leaders, how do we then limit the freedom of expression? As what has been mentioned by our Prime Minister and our Deputy Prime Minister of the government, we want to make sure that the main mode of communication when it comes to announcing certain news is not social media. We want to make sure that our official sites are televisions whereby no one can go, and you cannot go and comment on a television station. How do you do that? But we want to limit our mode of communication from being Instagram, Twitter, where people are open to say whatever they want to say. Also, we want to limit what the comments of people through censoring on social media platforms like Instagram, like Twitter, and at times, if there is a dire situation, we actually want to turn off commenting. I believe that we all know about Grok, which is on Twitter, and this is used to censor and supervise the type of language used. Denied. With this used to censor and supervise the type of language used when we as individuals interact on social media during our discourses. And as a delegation, our main argument is based on the fact that this is a national, continental, or global crisis, and we want to minimize as much harm as possible because prevention is better than cure. And that is why in my speech I'm going to answer why we actually want to minimize this harm. As we all know, the word turbulence means that a certain change in the situation, and we have been given 3 words to look at here, and that is the political, the economical, and the social aspect. Economically, how do we then have a change in the status quo? We can have this by through ways of inflation, and at most times when we have inflation, let's look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Recently in Zimbabwe and around April, there was an introduction of a new currency, and that is the ZiG, right? Of which the ZiG is now reducing in its value. It's now reducing in its value. And why is that? It's because people are on social media busy diminishing the ZiG. People are on social media busy undermining it. And this is making the investors to lose confidence, ladies and gentlemen. We should also look at that. People like from countries like China, people from countries like Russia, they are investing in Africa, and even when they're investing in Africa, this is a change in status quo, ladies and gentlemen. We see that many people will be posting whatever they want to post, be it good or be it bad. This is now influencing a certain type of criteria of thinking when it comes to people who are average-minded, right? And if this is the case, then what picture do we then give to these investors? Are they going to be moralized when they see on social media that these Africans, okay, some Africans were actually vocal about it, are ungrateful? Are they going to give us aid then? Are they going to give us scholarships then? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's also look at the economic effect of saying whatever you want to say, be it good or bad. I want you to know that as a delegation, we are not only attacking people who are saying the good things, we're also attacking people who are also saying the bad things. Socially, there is a change in the status quo when we have things like disease outbreaks. Let's look at when there was COVID-19 outbreak, ladies and gentlemen. People will post whatever they want to post. That's encouraging other people not to get these vaccines, ladies and gentlemen. And we want to minimize as much harm as possible. But if there are people saying whatever they want to say on social media, on social media platforms like Instagram, Twitter, you name it, then how do we then minimize the harm that is being caused by this pandemic? Politically, ladies and gentlemen, we see that we have a change in the status quo during times like elections, right? Whereby during election processes, people are supporting whoever they want to vote. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are all saying enough to make our own decision, and let us not take sides. That's what we're saying as a delegation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that fine speech, member of the government. I will now be taking the member of opposition.
The topic stands. This House opposes the social expectation to publicly take sides and be vocal on social networks in times of social, economic, or political turbulence. One word to describe the government: suppressors. These are people that are not allowing the public, the citizens, to be able to say what's on their mind. These are people who are not allowing people to be able to give their personal opinions. Well, I'll start off with a few rebuttals. They attacked us saying that people who don't have gadgets, what are they gonna do? Are you gonna suppress them? How are they gonna be able to access the news or what's happening? We never said we are going to ban the news. We never said we are gonna ban the publishers, the newspapers and everything. No. Social media is just coming in aid. It's just coming as people's personal opinions. So these people who don't have phones or any gadgets can still rely on the news and newspapers. And all their points were centered on misleading information, inaccurate information. Or for your own information, these days we have verified accounts that people actually trust to give them relevant information. And we are saying that allowing people to give their personal opinions, to give what's trending, it gives us a variety to be able to choose from. What more if only the government gives you what you have to believe? You don't have a choice, you have to believe what they are telling you. Rather than if we have a variety to choose from, we can tell, no, this doesn't make sense, this is more accurate, and this is more relevant. They also talked about people can be paid to get rid of competition. But what we're saying is, what's more if the publishing company or the newspapers are owned by the government, which is the political party, and they are in control of all the information that's going to be published. They are going to let people what they want to hear. They are going to attack them even more, since people only get to listen what they have to say. Now, moving on to our arguments. It creates awareness. Let's be honest, it's the 21st century. No one still sits for the 8 p.m. news. People will spend more time on the social media platforms, their TikTok, their Instagram, and their WhatsApps. Why not take advantage of this? Why not allow people to be able to get information, to be able to get aware whilst they are on their gadgets, on their social media platforms? Technological advancement should be taken advantage of. The ideology behind making technology and developing it was for easier and faster information access. Imagine back in the day where you had to wait for the newspaper man. Now it's easier. People can easily just go on their social media platforms and share their news. Accept it. Yeah, exactly. We get that. That's why we said we are not cancelling out the news. We are not cancelling out newspapers. This social media is just being used in aid, in critique of what is being said on the actual news. Now, yes.
You are telling us why social media should be used to take sense and express expressions, but you are not telling us why, if social media is used to take sense, how it can be controlled. Because we know you are not cancelling TVs and radios and everything, and you just add social media to it. But in the use of social media, you're not telling us how it can be controlled, because it can easily turn into.
Okay, fine. I get that. You're asking how is it going to be controlled. I think I talked about this when we are saying people can actually refer to the verified accounts, the selected accounts that people can get relevant information from. And we are saying this prevents corruption from the government. What's going to happen when the government knows everyone is depending on us to publish information? What's going to happen when the government knows that they have no other source to get reliable information from? They're going to take advantage. How do we know? They're going to tell us what they want us to know, not what actually is happening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that fine speech. Member of opposition, I will now be taking the government to close the debate.
My dear House, I'll start with my rebuttals. And this debate, as a delegation, we acted as a small government since we did not ban but limit comments on social media. Therefore, the word suppressors was just hyperbole. Then, secondly, the opposition came here and talked about how people can refer to verified accounts, but we have to remember that on X, formerly known as Twitter, anyone can be verified if they pay a fee for X premium. Therefore, if I pay my $8 for premium and sell false information, I can do that as well. So, we consider your point invalid. Then, we have to take note of individualism, ladies and gentlemen, where we are looking at what people say will affect the nation and state. And ladies and gentlemen, it is a common fact according to psychology that human beings learn through observation. Meaning the moment sees people talking bad about a certain thing, they'll obviously attract that view. Let me take an example of President Bola Tinubu's recent visit to South Africa with Cyril Ramaphosa, whereby people were talking negative about the visit, which was going to strengthen economic relations between Nigeria and South Africa. Therefore, people were talking about how he's going to influence more illegal immigration in South Africa, which is not the case. What kind of president goes all the way to Southern Africa to influence such bad things, ladies and gentlemen? And in continuation, we talk about community notes and X, whereby anyone can express and diminish what someone has said besides being true. For example, someone posts about a water situation and someone has the right to come and post a community note saying how wrong that thing is, even if it's not without verification. And then they also didn't talk about the influence of social media influencers selling political influence. For example, during the elections or whatever, of course, if a social media influencer, well-known people were purposefully in Nigeria here, or people like Mukomana in Zimbabwe and Third Avenue, if those people express their view and certain support for a certain political party or political views. Obviously, their fans and people who follow them will express that same view, and that is not what we want. We believe everyone was entitled to their own opinion, and it should stay like that. Because not everyone can maintain their own opinion. If it so happens that the people who influence them on social media and people they follow are influenced in a different one, then we also talked about the criminal consequences of this. For example, in 2020, there was a man, a Zimbabwean living in the United Kingdom, who expressed that due to the political situation in Zimbabwe should be bombed. Ladies and gentlemen, what kind of view is that? Is that what you want people to comment on? And the criminal consequence is that this man was actually deported back to Zimbabwe for arrest. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about mob psychology. The moment you view a post about certain thing which you support, and then you go into the comment section and notice that everyone is not in support of what you view, your brain is obviously going to start looking at the what ifs. What if I support this? What if this is actually right? What if this is actually wrong? This is something very possible which will work on to you, ladies and gentlemen. Then we posed a question of how they want to limit the influence of inflicting harm, ladies and gentlemen. And we understand that inflicting harm is not everyone's mission and everyone's intention the moment they go on social media. But how do you tell that this account by this certain person is to inflict harm before the person even posts? But as my member of government said, prevention is better than cure. So why not prevent? Because we cannot tell that this person will support this. So that's why we suggested the limit on comment section, which is actually an option on X. Therefore, we as the government are supporting the fact that we will not make it an option. Community notes and comments will be limited on government posts and news platforms, ladies and gentlemen. And also, the issue of trusting they experience trust in news platforms, meaning the moment in Zimbabwe, the Secretary of the Ministry of Information, Publicity and Broadcasting, Dr. Nick Mangwana, is verified. But he is the very same person who keeps on expecting propaganda and every defending propaganda of the government, ladies and gentlemen. Then, once again, we also talked about the code of conduct on social media. I don't think everyone reads that code of conduct you get every time you download an app whatsoever. No one reads it, right? I believe so. So, as a result, not everyone has an idea how to express themselves in case of a clash of ideas, ladies and gentlemen. So, therefore, the right of freedom of expression in the small government of ours believes that right of freedom of expression through public views on social media should indeed be limited. Then, once again, we also think everyone is fit enough. We agree with what they said, that everyone is entitled to their own opinion, they're fit enough to have it. But maintenance of opinion is the matter in this debate, ladies and gentlemen. That if everyone is everyone able to maintain their opinion, is everyone's intellectual prowess, because we don't have the same IQ. No one is intelligent as you and you and you are. No, that's not the case, ladies and gentlemen. No one is able to maintain their opinion. So therefore, as a house, we opt for limiting of the social and public views of the government. With this, I am the
Thank you so much for that speech, Government. I will now be taking the opportunity to
start in 3, 2, 1. The basic ideology that we're trying to function on is the aspect of social media functioning on a multinational level, governments functioning on a national level. This government does not dictate what this government is capable of. Social media allows every single person currently on this planet, currently living, currently breathing, currently being able to function using their mental capacity to be aware of every single thing that's happening in every single direction. The minute we say social media is now invalid in the representation of the thoughts and the ideologies of the people towards the government, we have already failed as a nation, failed as a continent, failed as a country. Thus, we are saying, take example of wars in Pakistan. We would have not known about wars in Pakistan if there was no social media. Newspapers in Pakistan are not released in Zimbabwe, they're not released in Nigeria. How am I supposed to travel to other different countries, other different nations, not knowing about the economic and social standards, if I am being told that the government is the only thing that expresses and allows me to be aware of all the full information? That was what the Prime Minister said, that's what we advocated against. Moving on to the Deputy Prime Minister. If we go against style of tonight, if we go against self-expression, we then support the deprivation of human rights tonight. We then go against the ideology of a human being allowed to express, allowed to speak. Voices are meant to be used, voices are meant to be heard. Our leaders in the government would not be leaders if they do not get the opportunity to speak and you to hear them. That is the very ideology that we're working towards. So the minute you tell the next person who is a possible candidate for a leader not to speak, you're already depriving the economy of growth, the economy of development, the economy of suppression. Now, crime begins when people feel like they're not being heard. Pressure groups form when the government releases documents or laws that the people are not comfortable with. That's when they start to advocate. That's when they start to rebel. That's when they put up graffiti. That's when they commit crimes. That's when they commit riots. Because they are saying, you are not listening, you are dictating. We want to be heard. We want to be felt. We want to be understood. The minute you, as a people, come and then tell us social media and all the other platforms that can be used to help and aid the perspectives and points of views so that the political disputations are fixed and resolved in a manner that is catering for every single person in the nation. Mind you, the government is not running the country only. It's running the people within the country. And if the people are not being held, and if the people are not being understood and catered for, then what is the government supposed to be doing? It's doing the wrong task. Now, point of information about this. We have the closer come here and say influence on harm. She highlighted, what about the influence of harm? Take a look at the time before social media existed. World War I, World War II, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. All of those bombings, all of those wars were happening because social media did not exist. People are able to advocate against. Government was
information.
Accepted.
You can just say social media prevents war, because definitely there's war in Ukraine right now.
I said, I'm not saying social media doesn't present war. I'm saying social media reduces the tone of war. Because the period before we had social media, war existed at a mass scale. We literally had fetuses in women's wombs being genetically mutated by radiation from Nagasaki and Hiroshima. We don't have that now because of the social media advocating for the reduction of the mass scaling of war. Denied. If influence on harm is now minimum due to the social media awareness. Before social media, we look at it and then people were now able to express and deny more factors. Government releasing propaganda, subjectifying its own rules except for ours. We were being suppressed. Now that we have social media, we have voices. People can actually hear what other people are saying. We no longer have to be subjected to the ideology of only propaganda, only being dictated. We are free to express, we are free to speak. That's it should be about tonight. Everyone is fit enough to represent. Now, we're not saying every single person. We have millions, billions of people on the planet. We're saying at a social aspect, we have people representing each group and then collecting those ideologies and then expressing them in a way that caters for every single person this government is leading. How do we do that? Social media platforms. That's what we're advocating for tonight. If there is integral calculus between being held, why shouldn't it be used? If we're saying what people would think, people who can actually account for every single thing that the government is failing to advocate for, why should they not speak? Why should they not be allowed to justify their own ideologies? If we look at it, unlike these people who did not even present a clash, we're saying, these people are saying that we should not be supporting our own people who are being led by the very government that they are supporting to not express themselves. If the government is going to lead, they should hear what the people are saying. A real leader listens to what the people want. A real leader caters and mitigates what the people want. It doesn't have to be everything, but then it has to be minimum. It has to be there. It has to be present. Then, if we're looking at codes of conduct, the very same way you say a person can pay for verification on Twitter, the very same people in the government can just not tell us information and just advocate what they want. We don't have any rule about that. How many laws are there which were published by the government that we truly don't know? How many laws are there in those books of laws for lawyers, for ministers, for judges? That we do not know, that we do not understand. How many people have been sent to jail? How many people have been suppressed just because people couldn't speak up, just because the voice was taken from them to express what they wanted to express? We are looking at it in the bigger picture. Guys, I love you too.
Thank you so much for that nice speech. Thank you so much, you guys, for your speeches. The judges will now take a few minutes to deliberate and be back with the results.
Guys, you can just stay at the corridor. I'll call you back. I'm not sending you. I'll send you my ID. After this, I go back. I come up by 2 a.m. yesterday. So I listen and I want to collect those shirts. The shirt that was and let's say God, I was. You don't know. I don't use my chest. I give rubbish. Yes, now you know that they are arguing rubbish. You don't see that the press. You think that this is confident. Jesus. Oh, I think all of them understand. Oh, cheers. Yeah, that's what you do. After that, I think I was thinking about you. So you should still give general feedback. Yeah, I have. That's the reason I'm not here. I want to get glass meat. So, fourth, third. Because these guys, the problem I have with these guys' conversation was, or like the problem I have with them, they're supposed to using social media to solve problems. So they say, let's do this, so let's have social media so that we can check this government, so that we can stop wars. But nobody is talking about using social media or anything. And I think that was what she said, this debate is about limits and not plan. She let it take it. I know that's what I want. Limits and not plan. This debate is about the limiting conversations on social media and not outside the plan. But even that is wrong. Even though they are still wrong. In the spirit of the debate, they are the closest. Yes. So, in fact, I can argue how these guys came up with this. I can defend this guy. So this is our detail. What's going on? And you have given discussion like decision and social media. See, the old debate that people should not have social media. People should not have all this. Yes, that was the thing about. So what is that about? I see you did that. I because here we're talking about polarization, we're talking about Unreal, unrest, and how those conversations are going to cause unrest. Because the more you keep having them online, the more it begins to affect people. So when they have that online, take that in their reality. Like that, those are my words, or those what I thought. So we don't justice to the emotion. Justice to the emotion. I think it's a very, most of them are family members. Yeah, most of them will say to their son. So I think by that I have S, I have 4. But you can go both ways. You can go both ways. But we before she said that this is not anything to herself. And everybody just follows. I think the problem is that I'm not joking. And they are school, I remember that school, when we run around, they buy everything, I see that 2001, 2021. I remember that school, at least I look me, I went almost on the whole school, they shoot me, they give me joy. She come to me, bro. Share. I don't know how to do it. But you know, I think let's make it easier for ourselves. Let's make it so first, second, Naira is not like
Do you know
they have content. Like, she has content. Like, I'm not talking like the liver. I'm going to do that one for you. I think I can do something that if I put like I will give it to my mom. I said, you know, that's how we do it. That's how I will be here today. So let's do this guy 16, this bigger 65, 67, 68, then let's do
see, I know how to insult all languages. Just say one sentence and
Yes, probably allow CG. Yes, I don't know CG before. Like, if CG wasn't in this debate,
these guys win. That's what I'm thinking in my head. With this guy, because with this guy's response, especially the weak response, right? He began with, and you notice he ignored the document, which I understand why. But yeah, he began by, I'm looking for it today. It is back. Yeah, he's around. So he's facing somewhere. He's around.
Hey, wow. Long time no see. That's beautiful. So that's easy on this recording sounds and all of that.
Yeah, when I came this, they told me, yeah, I was there last week too.
Hey, it's not just busy. Recording and all of that stuff. So yesterday I was a little busy. I will use the word now. I tried to count. I couldn't. So just say, let me stay and count today. So how has it been? So that's good. Thank you. God bless you all. I appreciate you. So, just good.
So his response, the only response, he answered some of their children with the material. So these guys came to show you from margin, look at how, okay, this is about stability, this is about the cost score. They didn't ask you a POI. What about poverty? So this guy's argument is, let's not allow government to feed us information. Right? Let's not get us information. He's not saying, what does it is the government now that is using fake news? You are saying we should not